What's up, Four Eyed fans? Welcome to this week, week 7. We are more than halfway through your fantasy regular season. It's our start and sit show on Wednesdays, like we always do. Of course, with me every single week, the Todd Father. What's up, Todd?
Not much. Ready to do some football talk.
Nate wearing his best preacher attire, whatever he's got on today. What's going on, Preacher Nate?
Hail Mary.
Praying for a fantasy win, I guess. David, freshly shaven up top. Nicely done, man.
So fresh, so clean.
Smooth.
Smooth. It's my monthly haircut.
Smooth. All right, let's start with some news. We're not going to waste your time. Man, COVID maybe strikes again. The whole entire Raiders offensive line going away from the facility. Is this like a weird Gruden thing, or are we concerned?
I don't know. I mean, it was contact related. So, I mean, I don't know as far as the COVID protocols, if there's any easy way to get everybody back into the facility by, what they say, by Friday is when they would know a little bit more.
Yeah, something like that. So, obviously we don't care about offensive line when we're talking about fantasy specifically. But when we're talking about IDP, this might be something we could take advantage of. Nate, we usually save IDP for last, but this seems real topical. So let's hit it first.
Well, I mean, I say it's pretty simple to understand, and it's maybe not as simple to others. But obviously, if you have an offensive line that is made up by a ragtag group of taxi squad players or practice squad, it just puts an immediate. If you ask me, I think that means Tampa has to be just licking their chops, and they're going to send, if not 5-6 rushers at pretty much at any given point. They don't need to. They could sit back and then probably bumps up JPP just a little bit. The Vegas, actually their offensive line prior to this news, I really was not avoiding them per se, but Shaq Barrett, JPP, they moved down a little bit in my regards because Vegas had done extremely well in protecting Derek Carr. So this probably moves each one up quite a bit. I would probably pay attention a little bit more so to this as days come.
David, does this have any impact on you starting Derek Carr?
Yeah, it does. He had a good performance against the Chiefs, obviously, but prior to that, he was not exactly a real strong performer. So him under pressure is not a good thing. We saw him perform well against the Chiefs with time in the pocket. Without time in the pocket, it is concerning.
So, all right, was David Carr the guy that you were, or Derek Carr? Geez,
one of them.
Was Derek Carr the guy that you were going to sit this week at quarterback? Or you got another one you want to put on your bench?
I mean, a guy that I like who's been good is Justin Herbert. He's been looking pretty good, even again in that Saints game. I understand they lost, but they've lost by one score or less. The last 4 games, I believe it is. He's performed that. He's good with the deep balls. He's good with the under routes. He's got the weapons. Hopefully, Keenan Allen is back. Mike Williams is playing lights out. Hunter Henry, one of the top tight ends in the league now. So he's got the weapons there, and I like what he can do.
Is he an every week starter now?
Yes, but keep in mind it's who else you got. If you've got if you got a Lamar Jackson, a top tier guy. I was going to say Ryan Fitzpatrick who's throwing, but not anymore. That's currently on hold.
Todd, go ahead. Finish up.
He's for the most part an every week starter.
Todd, give me a guy who we're putting on our bench at quarterback.
Putting on the bench, I'll go ahead and sit Jared Goff this week. He plays Chicago, and Chicago has not been nice to quarterbacks when it comes to fantasy points. Right. Yeah, they haven't not been nice to any position, but specifically quarterbacks. And Goff has been really boom or bust anyway. He has 3 games under 15 fantasy points this season, so he's looking like a boom or bust play. And then against Chicago, I don't want anything to do with that at all.
Okay, so we need a boom then. If he's your bust, who's your
boom.
You're gonna second Herbert.
Gardner Minshew. Oh yeah, I was gonna say Ryan Tannehill, but let me go with Gardner Minshew because he had that one bad week against Miami, but other than that, he has 17 or more fantasy points in every game. And then just getting back some of his weapons that he's been missing over the last couple of weeks, he's just looked much better. He has 300-yard passing games on the season, so If I'm going to Boom, I think he's someone who can definitely put up 20-plus points this week. And he is the number 14 QB on the season. But, I mean, I guess he's played every game, so it helps when you played all 6.
It does help when you play every week.
Yeah.
Nate, I don't care about any other week. I'm talking about Nate. I'm talking about week 7 only. Who's the quarterback I need to have in my lineup week 7?
I think a little bit dropped down after the previous couple weeks, but I think Matthew Stafford's in line for the biggest week of his season so far. Not only, like you said, what am I doing for week 7? I think this is going to set that precipice for him going forward where he gets to destroy Atlanta. He's got a couple tough matchups sprinkled in, but for the rest of the season, he's got, I know you said just week 7, but a little precursor. He's got Atlanta, then Minnesota, Washington, Carolina, Houston. He's got some good matchups. He gets Kenny Galladay back again this week. I really think that anybody and everybody's pretty much taking advantage of Atlanta on all accounts. AJ Terrell's back, but I'm not worried about his lining up against Galladay, if that's who it is.
Sure. So Stafford's going to take advantage this week. I need a quarterback who's not going to get the advantage.
I mean, I don't like Andy Dalton in this game. I don't. And I know that there was a lot of hype. And he threw the ball 54 times last week, 58, something to that extent. Everything was pointing up, but I think the pressure with them not having – they don't have either tackles. They don't have their center, or they're, now with Zach Martin potentially banged up. I mean, that whole offensive line is in shambles. I think he's going to be pretty much hand the ball off to Zeke the entire time.
Okay. David, finish us up here. Quarterback, sit, week 7.
Quarterback sit is actually Tom Brady this week. He's been very boom or bust. Other than that 5-touchdown game he had against the Chargers, he hasn't performed well. And look, part of that is because he hasn't had to. I mean, last week we saw the Tampa Bay defense go lights out, pick 6, and that was just getting him in the red zone without him having to try. Ronald Jones has been on fire, so they've been pounding the rock. So Brady hasn't had to go to the air as much. He did find Gronkowski finally for a touchdown, which was very exciting for everyone in the world, mainly me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's very volatile, and if you've got better options, then find him.
Cool. Hey, before we get into wide receivers, which is where I want to go next, I have to mention, I don't know if you guys have checked this out yet on our YouTube channel, our newest writer, our newest acquisition, Oklahoma Doug, he does this thing where he puts together his Oklahoma's heroes and this video of like the top interceptions of the week. Awesome video editing. Of course, we're happy to have him on. Maybe he's going to pop into the show at some point and pick off one of us. That's quite possible. Okay, let's go to wide receivers. I'm going to jump in before we even get going, and I'm going to ask you all, whoever your start is, tell me why you're going to start them over Keelan Cole. Let me give you some Keelan Cole numbers. He's the 20th wide receiver in fantasy scoring this year. Right now, the 20th. Here's his week by week. Don't tell me he's last week is an aberration. All right. 5 for 47 and a touchdown, 6 for 58 and a touchdown, 4 for 43, 4 for 46, 2 for 25 and a touchdown, 6 for 143. Yeah, that's a big blow up game. But he has been a wide receiver you can start every single week this entire season. Are we just like swinging and missing? We don't want to believe in Keelan Cole. David, shaking your head.
I'm not really a big fan of Cole just because it's just not consistent, to be honest. There's no floor even in PPR with him. There's better options. I'd prefer a guy like
5'7", 6'5", 6'9". 5'7", 6'5", 6'9". Those are his targets each week.
It's okay targets, but I mean AJ Green has more targets, and no one's starting AJ Green. So yes, targets means opportunity, but it's what you do with that opportunity. And I'm not buying Keelan Cole.
Okay, so who are you buying?
Tim Patrick from the Broncos. Very excited about what he's been doing. 100+ yards and a couple of touchdowns on the season. He's looking like the number 1 receiver, more so than Jerry Jeudy, to be honest. So I expected Jeudy to take over that number 1 when Sutton was out. But look, they've been looking at him in the end zone and looking at him in the slot. So I like his I guess the safety blanket in Timmy P.
Man,
Patrick,
David is just
I was going to say,
all
Patrick,
my picks.
Todd, as soon as he said it, I knew he had gotten you there.
Well, yeah, I actually put out something on Twitter today. Tim Patrick has 17.56 yards per catch over the last 4 games. He has 94.8 air yards per game on the season, 5.8 targets per game. And then the thing I like is that Drew Lock slings the ball. And so when he's that deep target down the field, Drew Lock's 12.6 air yards per attempt is number 1 in the league. I mean, it's a smaller sample size, granted, but I mean, those two add up. And then Patriots have given up 7 touchdowns to wide receivers on the year. So, yeah, I love Tim Patrick a lot this week and kind of moving forward. And I actually mentioned him on Sunday when I think it was actually David mentioned Jerry Jeudy, and I mentioned Tim Patrick because living in Colorado, I get those Denver games. So
you're the Tim Patrick originator here at Fantasy and Frames. Give me somebody you're going to put on your bench and start Tim Patrick over Todd. Steal Davids.
Steal Davids. I actually forgot to write down a set. So let me just give you one more starter and we can come back to me. But Cole Beasley, I like a lot this week against the Jets. He has 4 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown last week, I think on 7 targets. And then he's had a killer floor. He has 3 or more catches in every game, and then 50 or more yards in every game or a touchdown. So that's another guy I like a lot this week.
David, tell Todd you're going to sit Cole Beasley.
I don't know.
You're not. You're not.
Oh, sorry, you say Nate or David?
David.
I don't know about Cole Beasley, but a guy I am sitting, believe it or not, is Michael Gallup. Look, I was fading him a little bit before the Dak injury, and now with Dak gone and Andy Dalton under center, I mean, we saw the result of that. Garbage time, we should have been able to see Gallup go lights out, and he really was not that effective at all. To be honest, I saw him on the waiver wire in one of my leagues, and you know that initial excitement. And then I went to go, had to drop someone. I thought, okay, I'm not going to drop Fulgham. I'm not going to drop Henry Ruggs. I'm not going to drop Brandon Cooks. You know what? I'm just going to leave him there. So I've got Michael Gallup left there on the waiver wire. I don't know. I think that CeeDee Lamb has definitely taken over that number 2, but even CeeDee Lamb's taken a hit. That offense is taking a hit as a whole. I don't really want any part of Michael Gallup. Sorry, Jorge.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd, did you come up with one?
I got you. So a guy I actually drafted a lot this year was Jarvis Landry, and he has Cincinnati, which actually looks like a pretty good matchup. But last time he played Cincinnati, he went 3 for 46, and I feel like if it's anybody's game, it's going to be OBJ's, especially after. Obviously, he's been frustrated walking around barefoot on the sideline last week and stuff like that, throwing his helmet. So just the typical OBJ stuff. So I feel like if anyone goes off, it's going to be OBJ. Jarvis just hasn't gotten it done. He only has 2 games with 5 or more catches, and he's a guy that's known for catching the ball in the middle of the field and getting you those floor points.
Jacob, stick around. I promise we'll get to running backs here. Boston Scott versus Antonio Gibson. Let's get Nate's sit on the wide receivers.
Yeah, if I'm going to stack, I'm going to stack. And if Stafford's one of my starts, it would be easy and probably low-hanging fruit to go Kenny Galladay. But I think each week, and I really worry about just the backlash, considering Marvin Jones has probably kicked every one of us in the junk a few times this year, considering all the hype that we were giving him and the superlatives as far as his comparables to Kenny Galladay. He hasn't done much. Fact of the matter is a get-right situation. I think I like the fact that A.J. Terrell's probably going to be up against Kenny Galladay. Pretty much leaves him wide open. Atlanta secondary has been ravaged by injury, decimated by COVID initially. Now Terrell's back. But I think this is that Marvin Jones game. And if we know Marvin Jones, the one thing about him that he does extremely well is he gives us those week-winning weeks, the big 7 for 120 and 2 scores. And I think I'm not going to say 7-122, but I think that we're in line for at least a touchdown and 75 plus yards. And if I'm optimistic about that, Aaron, I know you're going to say, who do I not like?
Right.
And I know this. You and I bounce off each other so well from all the baseball and everything. I'm going to hit a home run with this one because their name sounds the same. I don't like the matchup. Darius Slayton against Darius Slay. It's a terrible matchup. Let's be honest. New York is in a bad spot against this Philadelphia front line. They actually made changes. Andrew Thomas, their number 1 pick, they sat last week. They got a little better production out of it, but that just tells you that there's a revolving door on that left-hand side. Brandon Graham has a good chance not to get the IDP talk already, but I think he's going to get some pressure on Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones does anything well besides fumble, looks Darius Slayton's way, I think that means Darius Slay is in line for maybe an interception, pick 6, but if anything, a shutdown Darius Slayton game.
Is he 100% healthy?
Is Darius Slay 100% healthy?
Slayton, because I know he was banged up on that touchdown catch, and I saw he's probably limited still.
He's still limited, but it was he did practice.
Mm-hmm.
For everything I saw. So I mean, and here, you know what? If he doesn't play, then even better. He's definitely
that's definitely a sit.
Exactly. Super.
Okay. All right. There's three of you. I need 2 words from each. I'm going to say one name. Here's a guy I have on a lot of my teams that aren't best ball, which I don't know why I don't play as much best ball as I should. I drafted a lot of Christian Kirk, and he's been scary to put in my lineups every single week. And I feel like I've been missing the boat. I feel like this is a guy that I should be confidently playing in like a wide receiver 3/flex play. I need 2 words only on Christian Kirk, start or sit. Nate, you're up first. 2 words only. Or one.
Outlier week.
Seattle Seahawks.
Nice
no,
answer,
thank
bud.
you.
Wow, that's 3 words, but
Cut Nate Garrett. 3 words too, Mike. I love Michael.
Hey, he's got the Seahawks this week.
Can we all chip in? And
if he has a week that he can put up points, it's this week.
Wait, wasn't this supposed to be to tell you why not to start Christian Kirk?
I was trying to figure out if anybody wanted to start Christian Kirk. Todd does,
but
David doesn't. Nate, I don't even know what you were trying to say.
Last week is an outlier.
Okay. I got you.
If you look at
2
that,
words, too little for Nate.
Exactly. I'm a man of many words, and I look at last week, and that spoke volumes. In that he got lucky with the run. And thanks very much. I might have to spell it out from now on, but it's okay.
All right, Nate, spell tight end. Spell the tight end. Week 7. Who's the tight end? We're gonna start.
So I'm gonna go
in the wasteland. That is.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. If you have a healthy tight end at this point right now, you need to start pretty much anybody you can put into your lineup. But that being said, I think of matchup wise, TJ Hawkinson's in probably the best best matchup against opposing defense that gives up, about 18, 19 points to the tight end position. So, I love Hawkinson, but again, if you have anybody at this point in the game, you're doing better than most.
Yeah, I feel like we can't even talk about sits because if you have anyone at the tight end position that's healthy and is the starter and has, is getting regular snaps and running routes, you're going to play him. But
I would say Evan Ingram.
Oh, Todd, go ahead. Yeah,
I would say Evan Ingram is one guy that you could actually start. They just aren't using him. Like you're seeing his average depth of target is just so low, lowest of his career. Like they're just not using him how he's been used before. He only has 1 game over 40 yards this season.
What's coming. If I'm sitting Evan Ingram, who am I starting?
Well, I'm actually going to start Logan Thomas this week, and it's basically just off pure volume.
Yeah,
he gets all the snaps, and he also gets Dallas taking a shot for it. And it's strictly on the Dallas D.
Now, if you guys will ever want to make Bauer happy, David, here's your chance. Take the Evan Ingram you're going to start side because Nate Gary probably will have to match up against him in some capacity. And the good news is, as Mike would tell us, it's hard to tackle a person when you're facing the other direction because you're out of position so bad.
Can we all chip in and just buy Michael a Nate Gary jersey?
I'm in.
He would love that.
I'm in.
He does need one. I saw Evan Ingram dropped in a lot of leagues actually this week, so that's kind of why I mentioned his name, right? Because I'm actually considering picking him up, but I don't know.
Sucks so bad.
He's just
David,
not
help us out.
Come
on, David, help us out. Tight end is bad, man. Tight end's bad.
A guy I'm starting is Rob. No, I'm joking. It's Jared Cook. Jared Cook, look, we saw when Michael Thomas was out, the beneficiary was Emmanuel Sanders, but the consistent player was Jared Cook, who scored a touchdown and still had, I believe, 6 targets. The yardage was not crazy impressive. It was around 50, but still 50 yards and a touchdown out of tight end at this point of the season. That's a high-end tight end one.
So you don't have to tell anyone to sit Zach Ertz now that he's hurt. Who are we sitting?
We're sitting Eric Ebron. Look, I was very excited about Ebron a couple of weeks ago, looking at the targets he was getting from Big Ben. But Chase Claypool decided to say, no, thank you, sit on the bench. I'll steal all the big body receiver catches. Chase Claypool is him and James Conner, the entire offense there in Philadelphia. And unfortunately, he's just taken the red zone looks away from Eric Ebron. So I'm not really a big fan of Eric Ebron this week.
I love the slip. I love the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania slip there. I know you meant Pittsburgh and not Philadelphia.
Sorry.
But like any good host, I'll take that as a segue into running backs, and I'm going to go with I'm going to start us off and get back to I believe it was Jacob's question about Boston Scott, and let's start with Boston Scott. First of all, why are you starting Boston Scott? I have not found a reason yet to start Boston Scott. Last week 1, Miles Sanders out. Boston Scott, 9 carries, 35 yards, 2 catches for 19 yards. So he had a grand total of 11 touches in the week that Miles Sanders was out. If you go back to last season, Boston Scott had 1 game where he was anywhere near fantasy relevance, a game that he scored 3 touchdowns against the Giants in week 11. Where is this? Everyone has spent all their money on Boston Scott in Fab this week after they drafted him, thinking that he was this like superior backup and going to get, when Sanders gets hurt, he's going to take over and be their RB1. Nate, I know you agree with me on this. You can't play Boston Scott this week if you have any kind of reliable running back, like even Antonio Gibson. I'm going to recommend Gibson over Scott.
I am too. But you hit the nail on the head. There's situations that you have to start Boston Scott. And that's because you have 4 other running backs that are all on bye weeks or injured, and desperation will set in. But I'm never going to be that desperate to start person who I think Philadelphia, they might be in a position to run the ball, and I still don't trust them. I like Antonio Gibson. I know the concern right now is J.D. McKissic cutting in a little bit of it caps his ceiling. I don't think it really takes his floor out from underneath him. I still like Gibson in the matchup, as far as the number of snaps that he should get. But yeah, Gibson.
Yeah, more touches for sure.
Look,
touches for Gibson.
As Bell
David
pointed out, though, Philadelphia Scott, Boston Scott, went week 1. He was actually banged up. He was injured during that game, so I didn't realize that. I must have missed it. So look, you got to give him some credit. He's fully healthy now. If they get to a lead, which I think they will, I think they're going to pound the rock, and he's going to get the opportunity. If he gets 20-plus touches, I wouldn't be shocked if we get 80-plus yards and a touchdown.
But he's only had 20-plus touches one time in his entire NFL career. That was that week 11. So I don't know where this 20-touch Boston Scott has been and why he's been waiting around to come in and fill in for Sanders this 1 week. I don't get it. I'm totally out on Scott. I didn't spend $1 on him. Wouldn't have picked him up in a league at all. Todd, I know you are here.
Yeah, Corey Clement had 8 touches to his 11 the first week. So, if we think they're the running backs in Philadelphia are going to get 20 touches, then I think you'd probably expect a 12-8 split.
Okay, this is way too much Boston Scott talk for me. Todd, I need a running back you're going to start this week.
All right, well, everyone, I've seen Antonio Gibson's name popped up a couple times now, but a guy I started paying attention to when he played Arizona in the second half was J.D. McKissic, and he came in. I think he ran 8 for 63 or 53, something like that, and I was like, he actually looked kind of good. Since then, he hasn't played less than 40 or 50% of the snaps. That's 4 straight games, and over the last 3 games, he has 19 catches. So if you're playing in a PPR league and you're hurting a running back, like I know I am in multiple leagues, especially against Dallas, I have no problem throwing in either one of the running backs this week, Gibson or J.D. McKissic.
All right, so let's say you do have J.D. McKissic. He's probably owned in like 5% or 7% of leagues or something like that. But let's say you have him, you're stuck, you're in a pinch. But who are you starting him over? Todd?
I have in a couple leagues, actually.
Boston Scott? J.D. McKissic versus Boston Scott. Heads up.
Oh, J.D. McKissic. And it's if it's PPR, I'm starting J.D. McKissic all day, and it's mainly because he's a wide receiver.
Okay. Is there anybody you're down on? Somebody in week 7 where you're going to sit?
Yeah, actually, we talked about the O-line earlier. I have Aaron Jones in a ton of leagues, and I watched the Tampa Bay game last week, and he cannot do it. I'm not saying to sit Josh Jacobs, obviously, but I would say to definitely temper expectations because he hasn't seen over 3 catches in the last 4 weeks or over 25 receiving yards. And if that whole O-line is out, it's more just something to, I would say, keep an eye on him because that's a scary matchup if that O-line is out and he's not getting that receiving work. Like, that's going to be a rough day.
David, help us out. I need a running back to start in week 7. Who do you got?
Look, I like Jerick McKinnon this year, and he may have been dropped in your leagues after Mostert was the 3-down back. So if he's there, I mean, hopefully you got him off waivers. Looks like Mostert's going to be out for at least 3 weeks, maybe even more. And I haven't heard Tevin Coleman any news of him coming back anytime soon. So I love the opportunity there. I'm not worried about McHasty or McTasty, McFasty.
I love it. Oh man, amazing.
What his name is, but I don't think they're going to eat into it. Look, Jeff Wilson. The only reason he got those 2 touchdowns that one game is because McKinnon had a rib injury, so he pretty much sat out that fourth quarter, and it was just all garbage time. So I'm not worried about those other guys. I think McKinnon is a 3-down back.
You should be worried about who they're playing. That should be the reason why McKinnon should be a concern, because they're playing your team.
Yeah, but
your Patriots.
Let's be honest. They, I know they didn't get in the red zone. It was Brian McManus versus the Patriots. But still they were able to take the ball from their 20 all the way to the red zone, even though they didn't convert. But look, I like that. I like McKinnon's ability to catch out of the backfield and just a north-south guy.
Yeah. Is there a running back you're willing to sit?
It's our little red Fournette. I don't like his upside this week. They found their 3-down back. It's Ronald Jones, and to be honest, I never thought I'd say because I was down on him all year. He's looking pretty good. I mean, he's running like a man on fire. I mean, I like what he's doing. He's scoring at least once in the last 3 games, I believe, and gotten over 100 yards in a couple of them. So I think they're going to keep feeding him. Fournette would just be purely a breather. So you're relying on a big play from Fournette. So he's just not worth starting.
Nate, yeah. I know you are not in on Leonard Fournette for sure.
No, and coincidentally, it's as if you had my notes in front of me, and so did David, because I am in everywhere on Ronald Jones this week. I love the matchup against Vegas. They do get beat up pretty good on the ground. I think this would be an opportunity for them to control, as exactly like David said. I think this is a slow game for Vegas all around offensively. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a tough time sledding against that defense, and that's going to mean that they're going to put the ball in a guy's hands who, over the last 3 weeks, he's rushed for 20 attempts, 17 attempts, 23 attempts. So they're fully capable of working him, running him into the ground, but he's still young. That's 23 years old, so you're not running him into the ground. And the nice thing is, if they go back to like week 4 against the Chargers, where he had 9 targets and 6 receptions, not doing a ton with him as far as yards after carry or yards per catch, but I mean, still volume, touches, everything's there. I see him as a low-end RB1 this week.
Awesome. Put someone on your bench. Who is it?
Well, it was going to be anybody that ran for San Francisco, whoever that would be, Jerick McKinnon, JaMychal Hasty, either one of those two. And coincidentally, I'm going to take an entire game. I'm going to take every New England running back and San Francisco running back out of that equation and just bench every single one of them. I do think JaMychal Hasty actually outperforms Jerick McKinnon this week.
Ooh,
Dave, if you and I want to have
there's a nice side bet there.
I kind of like James White, but that's more just.
Ooh.
And James White would be the only one. That's fair. That's fair.
Can I get 3-way here? Can I get a 3-way action here?
On? You want McKinnon?
I'll take all the running backs in that game better than none of the running backs in that game, Nate.
In terms of total points scored? So you'll take one. Oh, well, yeah. But I know you're the betting expert in this group, but
I'm going to say flex. There'll be a flex-worthy candidate in between those three, between James White, Jerick McKinnon.
James White and J.D. McKissic were both top 15 backs in PPR last week. So that's like when you talk about guys that you can start, and when you're really hurting for running backs at this time of the year, well, that's why I like to
leave that question up.
RB2, RB3 guys that I'm trying to get just receiving floors.
Math Quest, I guess, is this gentleman's name or lady. Thanks for watching us. For my flex position, would you guys start Tyler Lockett or Justin Jackson this week? This seems like a no-brainer, right, everybody?
It's Lockett. It's
Lockett. Yeah.
But I really like Justin Jackson. He's actually one of my starts as far as from the running back position, but I total points is going to be Lockett, especially against Arizona. I think that they're going to try to shut down DK with Patrick Peterson, and that'll leave Lockett a little more unexposed.
Absolutely.
One quick honorable mention to Le'Veon Bell. You're not starting him this week, so he's obviously a sit. but I want to see what he does. I'm very curious. I want to
I
see
don't know if
what
he's gonna-
Andy Reid has planned for him.
I don't think he's going to play. I'm going to just go out on a limb right now. I don't think Lev Bell plays this week.
I got it signed too.
Nope. I don't
Todd, you putting in some trade offers for Bell?
I'm not. I just feel like personally, I feel like if I'm trading for Bell right now, the person's going to be asking for a little too much for what I'm willing to give up. I want to see it in action before I start giving them my assets for it.
Okay. The start sit show for week 7. Awesome. I'm going to go off the rails a little bit here. I'm going to start by talking about when we sit. And I'm going to talk about colorectal cancer. Hard to say and even harder to talk about. Guys, fantasy industry does a lot of good for a lot of things. And a lot of the times we can talk about things here that or have personalities or share things that we don't normally share. And so I just want to run down some quick lists of symptoms for guys out there. If you're having these symptoms, talk to your doctor about them. Go get a colonoscopy. Go get at least a conversation with your doctor. If you're having any change in your bowel habits, you got a feeling that, you just have to always go, or you have any bright red blood or blood in your stool, black or tarry, cramping or belly pain, weakness, fatigue, or unintended weight loss. This could seriously save your life. Do it for your family, do it for your best friends, do it for your fantasy football leagues. Go out there, talk to your doctors. This is like a really important thing. And I had some issues myself and decided to have one done, and everything came out clear. I feel a lot better. I'm drinking a glass of wine to that every time you have a clean scan.
I thought that was a nod to my preacher get up. I thought that was their communion.
It was not. It was not. All right. Awesome show. David, tell them where they can find you at Fantasy Go.
FantasyGo.com. If you're looking for some advice, we got a bunch of analysts on there. Pick your favorite one and let them help you get the W this week.
Nate, what are you writing this week? What other podcast are you going to be on? What are you doing?
So, David has joined Jorge and myself over at the Fantasy Playbook Pod. It's on the Fantasy Data Network. We have a show came out today. We have one coming out, part 2 tomorrow, and part 3 on Friday. And you will see me back here with hopefully all your pretty faces on Sunday morning for our pregame show.
Todd? You're doing a million things too, yeah. But what are you writing now?
You can find me tomorrow morning. I'll be releasing a matchup article at Fantasy and Frame, so you can find it there. And then, just like Nate said, look forward to seeing all you guys on Sunday too, and probably a few more.
If you're new to this show and you don't know David, Nate, or Todd, and you don't follow them on Twitter, you're doing this thing wrong. These are some of the most active Twitter personalities going. They're always involved in conversations. So make sure you hit them up. Check out their articles. Check out David's content over at Fantasy Go. It's great. His product is amazing. Nate, of course. Jorge, thanks for doing all the legwork for us. Hope to get you back on the show next week. All right, everybody. Peace.